Hello, everyone. It's Alex, and I am an admin here as well. I'm waiting for Ben to get on. We're going to do a discussion over the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean. Let's see. Hello. We're about to have a discussion over the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean. Just waiting for Ben to join. I don't know which tablet to do though. As you can see, I do have this book, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean. Another good book for the Emerald Tablets and also understanding the Anunnaki, as well as just tons of information. The Seventh Planet, Mercury Rising by Gerald Clark. This book is actually a phenomenal book when it comes to putting together like the Anunnaki history, but it also goes into the different types of energy fields that your body has and how it can how you can detect the energies inside the body. Doing there's a way you can actually scan your body with the instrument and take the energy that's coming off inside the different areas and then actually calculate it by the frequency that you're receiving to figure out what color of light that your body would be giving off inside that area of the chakra to tell if it's actually inside of like sync or not, if it's like a bright or if it's dim. So, and that's inside of like this book, Seventh Planet, Mercury Rising. Gerald really puts a lot of work into deciphering the Emerald Tablets. He was an electrical engineer. He died last year, unfortunately. Right whenever Corona started, he had cancer and he passed away. So, but inside of his work, he actually went through a lot of as Thoth is speaking about the Emerald Tablets, he's actually talking about like different circuitry inside of our body. Like I was just looking at inside of this one, it was like I think Emerald Tablet number 4. He was talking about, don't you know that you are really a son of suns? Well, that whole son of suns thing comes down to what's made inside of our head. The pineal gland, everybody knows that's a stargate. Well, if it's a stargate, that means it's a soul. Star, soul, you know? So what we're taking in with our eyes all the time, the pineal gland is also wired into our visual cortex. So as the pineal gland is also wired in our visual cortex, it's also a black hole. Like we have the black holes here, we have the black hole inside of our head that's also taking in information and energy, and that's our soul seat. Whenever you go to the Lost Teachings of Atlantis, which this is another good book. Let's see where it is. The Lost Teaching of Atlantis looks like this. You can go online to their website and actually buy it for cheaper than if you got it online. But it's written by John Pineal. And inside of here, it talks about a saying called Yod He Vav He. And Yod He Vav He is, you see Yahweh, it's like YHWH. Well, inside Old Hebrew, whenever you would have a vowel, you would take it out. So that W you see is actually Vav, or 6. So Yod He Vav He. And they take that out to make the V. And then that second He becomes a Yod. So when inside of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, when he's saying that you are a son of suns, that black hole within you that's inside your head, that stargate, whenever it starts to accumulate enough information, just like exactly. Well, Yod He Vav He isn't God's name. It's actually a process of how this comes apart, like all of it comes together. I can sit here and let me see, because it's on page 288. It was when I read that, it was so profound because it explained everything that I needed to prove. There we go. Hey, Ben. Yeah, Yod He Vav He. Let's see. What's going on? I was just explaining something to everyone real quick before we get started in our talk about Thoth and the Emerald Tablets. So Right here, you see inside page 288. This is my mom's book. I have my own copy of it. It's just not here. Uh, the word Yod He Vav He is like, why are there so many names for universal spirit? Ah, that is a question. Sometimes it's because different cultures or different languages. Sometimes it's because of translations from one culture or a language to another. Sometimes it's translations within one culture. Sometimes it's a control. It's for control and confusion to change the truth of the meaning of God. They call it universal spirit inside of this book, by the way. I think you should definitely check this out. The Lost Teachings of Atlantis, The Children of the Law of One. You can read it online in an audiobook, actually. You can go on YouTube and listen to it.
I definitely will. You have to remind me.
I will. I'll send you a playlist.
All right.
Yod He Vav He is a perfect pattern of how everything comes about. The structure of it is Yod. The first part is the positive, or the sun, light, the father principles. The He represents the negative, not as in like a bad or evil thing, but as a negative polarity, pure darkness, like that of voice space and the receptive. The mother principle. Val is the meaning of Yod and He, the place of interplay, intercourse, and combining of the first two principles. So if it's positive, that's Yod, and He is negative, then you have like the atoms, positive, negative atoms that we have going on, and how they intercourse between the two to make like your phone a phone, or a book, or your staff, So
when you say Yod, is that like Y-O-D?
Yeah.
Y-O-D? Yod?
Yep.
Oh.
Yod. And
I've always pronounced that Yod.
I see.
Because in astrology there is something like related to that, but like, go ahead. Continue.
Yod over here, it says allegedly it's pronounced Y-O-H-D. So it's the O sound.
Yod.
Yeah. Yod He Vav He. Yod He Vav He. That type of thing. So
that sounds a lot better than Yod.
Like, would you call it yodeling? To Yod L, as in Saturn L.
Oh.
Yod L.
Yodeling.
Yeah. Yodeling. Exactly. So, inside of the second, its own principles, vowels, the meaning of Yod and He. It's a place of interplay, intercourse, and combining the first two principles. It's its own principle and a place of conception and the birth of the second He, again pronounced He. The second He is the offspring of Yod and He, is the result of their interaction, their subsequent creation. The second He has the same attributes as its father, the Yod, and that is actually a Yod in its own micro and macrocosm of the realm. The second He is not only a vibrational plane, the second He is on a vibrational plane and an octave apart. The second He begins the cycle Yod He Vav He again as a Yod in the microcosm or macrocosm, and its polarity is reversed from the father Yod. Interestingly, the father principle Yod was distorted through the translation over time from Yod into God, which is often given the father principle connotation. But Yod He Vav He comes from there. And what that Yod stands for is like the creator takes his dark energy and he puts it into the system. It goes to dark matter, like the pia matter and dark matter in your head. And the yogis, they say the majority of the creation is actually feminine. We live in a feminine creation. What we see and what we feel all is birthed by the feminine. And then vows intercourse between the two, which brings about the different creations, and then becomes a He. And that He is a black hole. That black hole accumulates information over time, and then it starts to get that light around the outside of it, the corona, and eventually it warbles and it becomes a sun on its own. It has a light on the outside. And so that's why the sun gives light to the world, and it's also the sun, because it goes from being the He, the feminine receptive principle, to being the Yod.
Yeah. James says that finger of God. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Is that in line with what you're saying?
Yeah. It's like, it's one of the Yod is like, it's like his little mark. He like does the finger of God. Makes sense why you say that, because like in 5 Amos 20, he says he is the light within dark. The day of the Lord is in darkness. And if it's the opposite, if he's putting dark energy into the system and then you have the light on the outside, and this book over here says that it's like an octave apart, he's actually the presence in the darkness. He's not like light. He's not like the ball of light everybody thinks the creator is. He's a presence within the dark. And then therefore now you have the sun that's in the sky, which is giving energy to our planets, which is the mother, the feminine aspect, father sky, mother earth. And then we go ahead and have Valve, and we pop up as a second Hay. And like I was saying, we have that black hole inside our pineal gland, and we're taking information in. We start off with it open and when we're kids, and it goes down. That's a Nana taking off her 7 heavenly garments.
My Mars is actually like the focus of a the focal point of a yod or yod. See, I did it again. Yod. So my Mars is the focus on it.
It is.
And it's also the focus of numerous T-squares, which I just made a post about earlier. So
I have to check it out. I just got off work. Like literally just got off work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I work late. Massage therapy. Yeah. But so that yod, that black hole inside our head, I was sitting here and I was looking at Emerald Tablet number 4, the Spaceborn, right? And like, I changed the page. Shouldn't have changed the page. But I was sitting there and I was looking at it. It was talking about like, oh man, don't you know you are a son of suns? Like, forth then my soul sped through the cosmos, seeing ever new things and old, learning that man is truly spaceborn, a son of the sun, a child of the stars. It's a star, it's a sun. And the stars, you know, whenever a star dies, it collapses and it sends out new elements. And all the elements are made of stardust, right? So once again, when we have that stargate inside of our head, when the pineal gland actually activates and turns on and the soul turns on within you, your solar disk actually turns on, you become entangled, but you become a sun because you popped it back open. So you become S-U-N. You have a soul, S-O-L, like Pinocchio wishing upon the star. You finally pop your star back open. And with that, since it's an atom, it's a singularity type thing, it's the singularity becoming active, you get entangled with the oversoul. So it's like in video games, they talk about, like, you know, you die and you see your ball of light floating there, and then you resurrect, you come back. That's what the resurrection is they're actually talking about. Once you have that ball of light and you're attached into it, he can bring you back because you're a character.
Yeah, that's
so you're a son of suns. You are literally a child of the stars because the stars made all this, and you have all this stuff going on inside your head, but it all goes down to the pineal gland and getting that back up and open. And that's what that one saying inside of like the Emerald Tablet book 4 means. Like, he talks about us being a light or being a fire within the dark, right? He talks about approaching the divine fire. The divine fire.
Off the fetters.
Casting
off the fetters.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what your fetters are?
The fetters are what bind us to this earthly, physical plane. You know, they vary, but
yeah, it's layered. It's like
what?
It's layered. Last year, when I went into when Corona happened and I started to speed up, you have to speed up your mind. So when you start off, when you're a baby, you have a Lilith. Okay? Your right side is picking up all this information and it overclocks itself. Your logical mind, because you're a baby and you're just coming online, you can't keep up with all the things that are happening and all these different levels. Because it's also like, imagine you being asleep in a dream and you're seeing the images of the dream world at the same time, like all of us sharing consciousness inside the dream, and you slowly start opening your eyes up out here and like looking to the outside world, but then you fall back asleep and you're back inside seeing the images of the whole thing of everyone, the collective consciousness, and you're slowly like peeping yourself out of that collectiveness to become one individual being, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So your fetters, that is like how you're told you're a man, or you're told that you're a woman, or you're told that you're white, you're black, you're given your different religions and everything like that. Inside of the 4 Toltec agreements, it talks about how like we're in a dream, and like we came out of the dream. Like that's physically how we fell out of it when we were children. But we came here, and there were certain rules that were taught to us that we agreed to, and like we just kind of accept that that's how it actually is. But that's not the truth. This is just an interpretation of the reality that we've been taught, and we've been taught wrongly what that reality actually is.
Yeah.
See? So the fetters are that wrong interpretation that we're holding on to, by actually going back and like confirming. We were taught a lot of things, but did we confirm it for ourselves? Because if we go sit in the darkness like we're supposed to, and we just sit there, are you really black? Are you really white? Are you really a dude? Are you really a woman? Does it matter? That's why the whole transgender thing, it doesn't matter. What is it that you are, the core root of your essence? You're that light-born being that it talks about inside the tablets all the time. That's why he brings the light so much, because he's trying to make sure people know like that it's that light-born being that we have within us. You know what I mean? So know ye not that you are truly a light, son of the great sun, the oversoul. When ye gain wisdom, truly aware of your kinship with light. You have to gain wisdom so you can be aware of that kinship with light that we have within yourself, which is the awareness that is the light. But yeah, well, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Sorry, I was already on the thing.
Oh no, you're fine. I'm just enjoying listening. Like honestly, like that. I think that's what the whole point of this is. Just really get to listen, you know, to what you have to say, and
Oh, well, yeah.
you know, put it out there. And it's funny because we were talking about I was talking about a sensory deprivation
Chambers.
like chamber, yeah. And my girlfriend went and actually found something that, like, there's somewhere near here that they actually have that. So
I recommend to go try it out, floating, because like for me, when I was a kid and I sat in the closet, I used to put earplugs in, and I would sit there and put a towel under the door, and I would sit and sit and sit until like eventually I lost the feeling of my body. And then you start like moving your arms, and you don't know if you're moving your arms or not moving your arms, because
yeah,
you can sit here and think about your energy moving, and you can also think about like your arms moving, and it becomes like where both of them are just like, it's like you're moving with multiple arms at the same time. You can like move shadow limbs, so it's like, am I moving my arms? Am I not moving my arms? And that
yeah,
whole the deprivation take, it's basically taking you back to the womb, so it might trigger memories for you because you're
yeah.
putting yourself back in that floating state in the darkness.
That's exactly what I'm trying to like achieve or something. You know what's
If
really
you were to
weird?
go do it, like if you wanted to actually like do a workup to it, to have like an event for you, I'd recommend like schedule it on a weekend, like on a Saturday, right? And then before you go to the event, do a 3-day fast. Like fast, because like Thoth talks about fast that I did for 3 days, the temple, right? That's the temple requirement. He did a certain amount of fasting. So if you're going to go enter into that space of darkness that you're already floating around, even if it's just for an hour, and you want to like have that feeling there, you want to go ahead and empty yourself out and let yourself be inside like more of a spiritual somber state. So whenever you approach it, you're approaching it with the more of a, instead of I'm just trying it out to see if it can help me with this or that, you approach it
Yeah,
with the I'm completely open and clear for it. And so then when you're inside the water, you can lay there and you just like breathe. Make sure you're rested. You've take a nap before you go, so you don't want to fall asleep while you're in it, because it gets really comfortable, you know. And you want to stay there and just kind of like zone out. Open your eyes and zone out, and you might start seeing. Because I know whenever I sit there for long enough and my eyes are open, I will actually start seeing like lights flashing, like going around and like doing stuff. So, and that's the pineal firing up, I'm pretty sure.
so I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that Moses had, who was it? What, like his brother or like someone else, like Moses, or I think it was Moses had like a speech impediment or something,
I
and
believe he did.
who?
I think he did.
Yeah, and he had his brother like do most of the speaking for him. Does that sound
Yeah.
right? I can't, like Joshua. Is that
He would. I don't remember who had the speech impediment, which is exactly the thing. Because like my brain's, I do downloads and dumps and stuff. But I know that I think it was Moses that had like the speaking problem, and
yeah,
that's why he didn't. He went up. He would go and talk to God. Like he'll do the whole thing, and then he'd come back and like he'd tell other people that are close to him that won't say anything, and they'd address the rest of the tribe. Like for that reason. It's one of those things. Speaking like, well, I got public speaking down now. I used to not like. I used to stutter a lot, but then
well,
I started to.
I feel like I think you know where I'm going with
Yeah,
this, you know,
I get it.
because we seem to be on like the things you're describing are so like exactly how I feel.
Yeah, it's a work thing. Yeah, it was Moses. Thanks, James.
Was Moses okay? Yeah, so it's like I have all these things I want to share, but I can't, and you're out there, like you're able to verbalize to speak it. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I've been. I
So
was here
apparently,
like that.
I'm Moses. I'm
It
Moses.
happens. I mean, go do your 40-day fast, man. You're gonna find some
Yeah.
stuff. Woo! So like when I went back into the fast, just for you all to know, like things like different types of training exercises you can do, right? You have to start thinking about your brain as it's an actual quantum computer. How do you use a computer? We have coding. We've never actually coded our brains. You have to actually use your own will and code your own mind. And so when I was going through all this and I was doing the whole thing, 'cause everybody talks about the shadow, right? Like you have the shadows that your shadow usually attacks you. You know what I mean? It's usually the person that's there and it's like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. Well, eventually, what happened to me is because I was thinking about like 8-year-olds are killing themselves, and I like children. It's like I'm like Gandalf, like. So my children's. So I freaked out, and then like at that point in time, my shadow was like, "Are you sure you can do this?" And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! I don't got time for your shit, bitch. Are you with me or not?" And then the shadow would be like, "Oh, it looks like you're serious. I'll see what you got to go along with." And you kind of like merge with your shadow. You two both actually become doing the same thing. It's really interesting feeling because the more you do it, you start to really speed up your mind. Because the shadow is your subconscious. So the shadow is going to be there, and it's going to reach back into your whole archive of everything you know, and be like, "And here goes information," and it's going to hit you like concepts, the DMT concepts. All this information is just going to start popping up inside your head, and you got to keep up with it because everything
Yeah.
you know is just going to start flipping like pages inside the thing. You're like, oh, it gets overburdening. But once you get to where you're calm and you're like, okay, all this stuff, it's that meditation. You're supposed to just watch and observe your thoughts and not partake in them. Well, the shadow can do a data dump, and you can sit there and watch the information go by you, and you can pick the pertinent things of what you're seeing right now. And as you're doing this, because Eve is created from your logical mind, that's what she is. She's the logical mind that, hey, because Lilith is too powerful. She's taking in too much information. You can't handle it. So she has to go away. So Eve comes from your logical mind so you can process about 8 things at a time. What you're doing is you're putting Eve back over here and you're summoning Lilith back up. As you're increasing as you're increasing your mind space, it's like the subconscious mind is just throwing data at you, just throwing and throwing and throwing. Lilith is now popping back up, and all the things you see around you, that's when you start realizing like more synchronicity. You start having that synchronicity flow keep on hitting over and over again. And some people are like, the numbers are jumping up out at me. And it's like a constant thing. Like, I was here and that number was this, and I looked at this and this number was this. Yes.
Yeah, for me
you're
it's
catching on
6
to
and
it.
8. For me, it's the numbers. There we go. Damn it.
It's not just like numbers do it. It's, for me, it's numbers, but it's also words. Like, I'll be sitting there and my phone will autocorrect to like a name. So I'll go look up the name, what it means. And oddly enough, that name had something to do with like what I was thinking at the time, which I'm like, that's weird. Like, how does that work? Why does that do that? Because the shadow self is like, the phone is basically, it's a black mirror we're looking into right now. Like, literally, you're looking into a black mirror. And it's reflecting light at you.
I am.
Yeah, you really are. And the pineal gland's also a black mirror. So all this stuff is like the black mirror show, how that's connected in, the outer limits, all the weird things. It's like, the truth is stranger than fiction, because it's right there. It's literally like right in front of your face. You just don't realize that all that's happening right now because your Lilith is shut off. And when your Lilith turns back on, you know how some people start talking really fast and they seem like they're going crazy? That's their Lilith drive is active. They're processing using their Lilith, and people don't understand because everyone else is going so much slower than when they're using their Lilith, they think that person's gone mad. But that person's actually becoming a child of Lilith at that moment, so that they can sit there and pick up the dark matter, the dark mother, Lilith, the dark mother, because she went and sat with the serpent, which the serpent would be the primordial energies from the creator, or how Shiva has a cobra, the king cobra. So it's the father aspect. Yep.
Ouroboros.
The Ouroboros, which is like Uranus at the same time, Uranus. It's coming up there, how the words all come together. But yeah, they're like, oh, Lilith was a whore. She went and she left and slept with the serpent. The creator's energy, the serpent energy that rises up, like comes from below. The dweller from down below is the most primordial creator, which whenever he sees what's going on the planet, he destroys the place because it's not what he wanted to happen. And it's just like, it's basically the creator's ego being like, yeah, so look, man, we got problems, okay? We got problems. I told you to go forth and bring something into existence. I'm alone inside a void. If you were alone inside a void, would you want to see all this ugliness around? No, you wouldn't want to see the ugly. I told you, y'all come from the same place. Psalms 82 said, ye are gods, all you children most high.
Kind of like, is that why I'm so like into my aquarium? Because, you know, it's like a little microcosm.
Yeah, it's a microcosm on its own.
Yeah, there's Cronus.
He doing things. Cronus be doing things, man. Look, inside the whole creation, everyone's just dudes doing things. People take things like way too seriously. But like, there's certain things, like this whole planet here, the creation has so many different levels and layers. Like, you know how Thoth talks about there's worlds within worlds? So there's doors, there's literal stargates on this planet to leave to other worlds if you understand how to unlock them. Like, literally, they've been doing this whole gate teleportation thing for a long time. Okay, this is like ancient. You write about this inside all the books. You see it inside like all the TV shows. They open gates. Yes, we can open gates and leave here. This planet is a nursery. And so in the nursery planet, where like people are like learning to become a light, where the whole thing is be a good kid, start reading through all the different books and religions, and you start seeing how like, it all goes together, and you get your Lilith back. You start unlocking your powers by your own striving. Know that when you become truly you're aware of your kinship with light, you start to actually build that awareness by actually seeking it through all the books. When you actually build it, you actually will go back. You have to go back to the creator at some point. You have to go back within yourself as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and do the ritual, do the fast, so that you know that you're not actually like a beast. You put yourself to death. It says inside like the Gnostic Gospels, you have to turn towards God, towards death to make let it be known as election. And I think that's the Gospel of Thomas. It's either Thomas or Philip. One of those two. It talks about turning towards death, and it'll make known its election. So when you go into that fast mode and it feels like you're dying, you have to act like when you're doing, because you do that elongated fast, you're going to drink water, maybe take some minerals to have in the water, but you want to like basically be like sitting there focusing all your energies going back in. You're focusing going in. That's a time frame whenever you should be sitting down and doing the whole focusing on going inwards thing. It's not necessary for you to actually like not be working and stuff at the time, but it makes it better. That's why we had temples back in the day. The temple was for you to go into your temple when it was your time to do like your test. Yeah,
Temple.
exactly. Your temple, to go into the temple. And we had a temple that you would go sit at so you can go do the things inside your temple, because it takes time to work some shit out inside yourself.
Yes, that's very true. Whoa. My little world is
Yeah.
crazy. Sorry.
Well, the whole world's crazy. This is an asylum. I'm convinced this is an insane asylum, and you have like, what's happening is the inmates are telling other people that they're the doctors, but they're actually crazier because the world's ran by a bunch of psychopaths.
Yeah.
Everyone's miserable. They're like, oh, we can't do anything. You're being ran by psychopaths, guys. You got to stand up, man. But now, like, they were doing all the child stuff again, like they were doing in Atlantis. They summoned the dweller from down below. That's what Joseph, God will increase, Robinette, the salted fountain, Biden, dweller by the down, as in down below. It's in the name. Like, that's literally what his name means. So the dweller from down below has been summoned, and that's what we're about to see, like, all the stuff inside the prophecies that, like, the world's going to go crazy.
You say
because
Biden?
Yeah.
That's
Biden means dweller by the down.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
And like Trump's name was like the victory. He was the trumpet. Here goes another thing, cool thing, right? Because I was paying attention the whole time to the names. Once you start paying attention to the names, or go back over the COVID headlines from last year, look at the names that were said of the people who died. Because I'm a death sage when I woke up, right? So death is whatever. Everyone, all men must die. Valor Morgulis, all men must serve. Or Valor Dahirus, all men must serve. Valor Morgulis, all men must die. So Trump, actually, it says Trump was talking to Georgia to rescind the election. He was saying rigged election, rigged election, rigged election. Rigged election. And then Georgia, that name Georgia actually means farmer. So the trumpet was talking to the farmer, was talking to the creator, saying, please rescind, don't have Biden be elected. Like, don't do that. We need to have it to where it's fair. It's not fair. Don't bring the dweller by the down. So, yeah. And nope.
You really?
Huh?
Well, I just want to say that my phone is about to die. It's at 4%, and it's not charging properly.
We can end it here and like do another one another day, because that is a lot of info I did talk about. Technically.
Yeah. No, you can continue to, continue the life.
Okay.
Keep on talking.
I can see what else I can come up with, see what else I can pull up. I am planning on writing something up, like a long thing for the actual group or for the page, to make sure, like, I'm going to take some pieces of one of the Emerald Tablets and start going through it and just looking at it and seeing what other references I can pull up and like stitch together. Also, you want this book?
Oh yeah. What is that?
Seventh Planet, Mercury Rising by Gerald Clark.
Right here.
Put this on your buy list to read.
Okay.
It's
You'll have
thick.
to send me like links and stuff.
Yeah, I
To
will.
remind me.
He actually breaks down the science that's like that Thoth talks about inside of here. Like he's an electrical engineer, and he actually starts breaking down how like the different electrical circuits in our body works as well. So more information about the Emerald Tablets, a different perspective to take it in. Remember, it can be read 100 times and deciphered in different ways.
Yep,
So,
that's exactly right. That's what I remember. I just keep, I play the audio book and I
over and
read.
over.
Yeah.
Every time I listen to it, it's like I heard something new that I didn't hear before, and I'm like, how did I miss that?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. I know you about to get out here. There you go. He left. What else is interesting inside of here? Oh, well, no one else is watching. Emerald Tablets. Ooh, the Key of Magic. So let's go over this because it talks about the warfare between darkness and light. What's the name of the book? This book is named, the few books I pulled up today, this one is The Seventh Planet, Mercury Rising by Gerald Clark. This is a good book. Nice and thick. It has good information. Of course, then there's also, and inside of there, he has a copy of the Emerald Tablets he's like put into it as well. So if you don't have a copy, this actually does come with the copy inside there, as well as like an explanation from an electrical engineer who had been working on it. He actually he wrote another book, The Anunnaki of Nibiru. Yeah, The Anunnaki of Nibiru, when he talks about like the whole, Planet X and how like the whole story that comes from stitching. But he also read through the cuneiform themselves, because you can actually go online. I can't remember the website right now, but you can go online and pull up the cuneiform tablet and put it into the thing, and it translates it for you. So you can sit there and read the tablet yourself for what it actually says by someone's maybe interpretation upon it. The next thing is The Lost Teachings of Atlantis, The Children of the Law of One, The Lost Teachings of Atlantis. This book is really good because it really goes into like universal spirit, and it's more of a, instead of like saying God and stuff like that, it explains how it does have its own consciousness, its own awareness, and you have to face your own dweller to get back to the universal spirit. Of course, there's the Darrell version of the Emerald Tablets that I have that's pulled up right there. Other books that involve information within this. Let's see. Oh, the Upanishads. If you don't have the Upanishads, the Hindu text, that's also a really good one, and also the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita kind of lays out the meditations that you can be doing, or like the different ways to meditate. It has info about Ra and the Law of One. Oh no, that's the Children of the Law of One is different than the Law of One, than the Ra information. It's two different groups. To explain who the Children of the Law of One are, they are the remnants of the Atlantean society that was always present on Earth. They were out in Tibet, and their monastery actually got destroyed. Probably about back in like the 90s. They got raided and their place got burned down. And so the monks left from there, the ones that were keeping the teachings. And they had like ancient manuscripts that were like, once again, like 600 BC, like old stuff that the people would go there. But they were just like a brotherhood that people that would like kind of wake back up again, and they would be drawn back to the same place so they can go back over there and like continue their teachings because they were part of that sect. So it's kind of like a Buddhism thing, but at the same time, it's like the ascended masters that were here walking around doing things for Universal Spirit, working behind the scenes. They got raided. So the dude that was there, John Pineal, the name he gave, as he was dying of cancer, he decided that he had to write a book. His master told him his thing was to write up a book and like give the teachings, the basic understanding of the teachings away to the people, so that we could, like, eventually the ones who would find it and who needed to find it would come across it. So it does teach about the law of one, but it's not the same as like the channeling from Ra, speaking about, the infinite creator, the love and the light and stuff like that and all that. This speaks about it instead of a different way, like where people say unconditional love. We all know unconditional love is pretty unhealthy. People don't have boundaries then, and having boundaries is actually kind of a healthy thing to define yourself and keep your own self going. And if you can't take care of this self, then how can you take care of the other selves? And it's a sort of thing of reaching a level of maturity. So instead of saying like unconditional love, they teach unselfish love, where if you can give something, you do give. But it's better whenever you read it inside the book, because the full concept is like laid out there. Where instead of like people, they try to get into love, and like a lot of the problems of our generation today is that we're trying to love and we're trying to own another person, but you can't own another person because they can't be slaves to you, because that violates the law of one. So it's kind of like a growing together that has to happen in order for things to work out. But people kind of rush because they want the glam and the glimmer, and then it falls off instead of actually building brick by brick things. And so the concepts inside this book, along with the Yod Hey Vav Hey and all that other stuff, I was actually listening to the audiobook as I was doing my fast, and that was intense, because I started to really, because your brain starts speeding up. Right now, when you eat all the time, yeah, your reptile brain is more in control because your gut brain's fully active. Now, once you shut down the gut and you're not using that energy to digest anymore, that energy rises up inside the system. You don't have that extra burden of that 35% of the energy being used. You have to search for nothing and feel whole alone. Then you can give that love. Exactly. You have to like not be searching. You're just being you. And then boom. Like a person comes up, like things happen. You just be your loving self. That's because I was watching Sadhguru. Oh yeah, fasting. Whenever you fast, it's really interesting to see how like you're addicted to food. Because Thoth talks about you have to fast in order to like enter into the temple more. And first off, it ramps up your energy because that 35% isn't being used to digest anymore. It also allows for your digestive wall to heal itself, which a lot of people's allergies, depression. If you have holes inside your digestive tract, right? And your digestive tract makes 85% of your serotonin, or 80% of your serotonin, which is your happy drug. If you let your gut heal itself, do you think you'll start producing more serotonin? Yes or yes? And then people will start having more of an elevated mood. So fasting, while you sit here, we're so used to like when you're little, since you're little, that impression's been given to you that you need to eat. So you have food constantly shoved into you at certain times, and you overeat. And this is the problem that we have. So whenever we fast, we shut that down, and now this energy rises back up, and it allows for like our brain to start processing quicker as we start sitting there and devoting more of our thoughts and energy towards using our mind. So definitely fasting more, you'll notice a clarity that starts to come over you once you can get past that. It also says man doesn't live by bread and food alone. This is true. You live by energy, not just bread and food. Actually, you can go outside, because I was doing this whenever I was in my fast. I started because I needed more energy, I guess. I was walking barefoot to pick up electrons for my body and standing in the sun and actually getting sun in me. While doing that, while fasted, and like just kind of walking in a circle in the grass, making my circle as I was pondering, I started to charge myself up more. And you give yourself, it takes more electricity for you to get that energy to rise up. You're not just going to have enough of it inside your system at first. So you kind of want to also do other things that are natural to increase your electricity. Okay, I know some people will go out there and they'll just try to do like the whole, I don't know, stick a battery on their tongue. Like, there's all types of ideas that people come up with to increase the electricity inside their body. But I wanted to do it inside of more of a natural way that was safer. Because some people have some crazy yogas, man. Like, there's crazy states of union. Because you got to remember, the basic teaching of all this is it's a dream. So if you can conceive inside your mind how it works, the power of Yotalan, Yotalan's missing the key of D, dream, which comes from the will of D, one piece, right? That also links in with the Aztecs, the ancient god Itzamna, Itzamna. He's the age-old god of D. And so sun gazing is tremendous. It charges up the gland. It helps out with that. Age-old god D. So Yotalan, Ytoland. Rearrange it, Toyland. Toyland. How you're the first principle is all is mind. So by your mind, what you understand inside of yourself, you can visualize, imagination, visualization, and focus, and will, impressing your will upon a thing as your mind of you being you, you start to manifest that thing. And what you seek, you become. So if you're seeking to go back within, to go back up to the light, as you're sitting here and focusing and like saying you're chanting, and you're getting, as you're walking inside the circle, you're putting yourself into a trance, entrance, for you to enter in. See how that word, it's all in the wordplay. Master of mysteries and language. So the keys are kind of hidden right there in front of everyone's face on how to actually go back into ourselves. I think I'll leave that there at that, and I'm going to get off of here. But what I am planning on doing here is to write up something over like maybe a few lines within an Emerald tablet, and going over different principles that I found or ideas behind that saying that I can see for myself, and maybe that knowledge that I have spread across the different books I've read and all my information coming together will help to shed a little bit more light for any individual that reads it upon the page, to also increase it from just being astrology and bringing it to more of the mysteries of what being a Hermetic disciple is about. Because Thoth Hermes, sorry about that. Thoth Hermes is master of mysteries. The Hermetic disciples, that means you want to know more than just the astrology about it. You want to also get into the language and the etymology and the different texts that were written about Thoth, and also how like the riddles work. Because once you start to see it, once you start to remember that, like, instead of saying that like this is reality, if you see it more as you're a character and you're going through a thing and you're just waiting for that moment, because all characters inside all movies, they have a backstory. They have things that are happening, but there's a certain point of now that happens with that character that engages that storyline for who they're going to become. And you never know when that point of now is going to happen for you. But in order to get to, that's why they say the kingdom of heaven is in the now. Because once you get to that point of now, you start to arrange and you start to become where you are yourself. And it's like you're in your own movie. But at the same time, you're in like a bigger movie. But you're a character. So you're building your character. And, well, if you want to get your magical powers and understandings, then you have to sort of do magical power understanding things. But it's important to actually get the main point first, What's the first thing you do when you play a game? You save your character. You make your character save the character. You've grown up this whole time now, but you're still that being that's inside of there, that light being that's there. So you have this basic body, whatever. You can customize your character as you get older and you understand more. But the first thing that needs to be done is to go back in and up to the dude that's dreaming so that he can be like, stamp of approval. Good job. You made an idea. Idea. Id, as in your ego. You've cleaned your ego properly to get an EA, to get into EA, like EA Sports. It's in the game. EA is water, the Lord of the Waters, inside of is it Akkadian? Babylonian. Babylonian is EA. And inside of Sumerian is Enki. But in Key, Lord of the Waters, in Lil, Lord of the Command. So Key means waters. So Ea, Lord of the Waters again. Idea, id, inside of the waters. Identification inside of the waters. You have your own idea, or you made your own concept of who you are as like a being. The game's Alice in Wonderland. Alice means noble. Wonderland would be Toyland, the dream, the great dreaming that's going on that we forgot about, the original teaching that was forgotten. So can you be noble inside this dreaming if you had all the powers that you wanted? You think everyone knows Merlin from when we're kids. You think he's going to let people nowadays who are selfish and hateful have fireballs? Can you imagine protesters if they actually had fireballs? Not saying that if you get fireballs, you can't protest, but you have to have certain things that you would be done with, and then all of a sudden, all these false prophets are supposed to appear with magical powers. Who approved them to have the magical powers? And if they're going to play that role, Thoth is inside of ancient Egypt. They used to call Thoth the father. I was reading the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus, and he brought up how like Thoth was the father. And I was like, what? And I've read like another thing where they called Thoth a demon, and I'm like, man, hold on. They say this dude's like all types of stuff. He's a demon. He has many faces. Aan is one of his names. The baboon god, like baboon god, like Son Goku, the Monkey King. Aan, the baboon god. Same thing. Rama, all the different faces. He's a trickster. He can jump around between his different faces, like the many-faced god of Game of Thrones. And it's like, what if what I stopped doing was trying to separate, like, this is reality, this isn't reality. And I just started to sort of sit there and look at everything and be like, what do I know and what do I not know? Thoth or Thought. OG dad. He's the city of the Ogdod. OGDAD. He's the original dad. The segmented. And so, like, at the very top, there's a dude that doesn't have a name. In this prime essence is that he's like the creator that just like he thinks of something and it happens. And it's not like it's good or bad to him because he's always just been there. To the people inside, like to us, we put like ant stuff on the ant hill and put water on it. It's not bad to us. Ants, it's like terrible, like we're committing genocide. So whenever you want to actually elevate your thinking, you have to like go beyond just that human perception of I've been this body, I've been this mind, I'm this. You have to let yourself expand into the full thing as if like you were the being behind every different being's eyes. How does it look from behind a spider's eyes if you had 8 different eyes? It'd probably be like some type of fractal net, like kaleidoscope vision that's going on. So that might be pretty cool. And you can visualize that inside your mind. You can kind of shift around with your actual visualization skills and put on different things to understand different identities, and you build up your understanding of Thoth. Because over time, what's going to happen is you're building your own Thoth within you as well, as there is the big Thoth. And you build your Thoth to a certain level and point to where actually Thoth will enter into your temple. Like I was doing my meditation and straight up like I was sitting there and then like the black hole was opened and all of a sudden the head of the ibis came out and he like had the body of a man and he sat there and I just started like typing and I'm like, this is what Thoth is saying and do 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 and like for me inside my own head while I'm like doing the meditation, I'm standing off in the corner and like my body's turned to ashes and I'm like kicking rocks and stuff and he's just talking and I'm still typing when he's talking, but I make sure I put like what I'm doing as Thoth is doing whatever he's doing, and then like I'm not paying attention to what I'm really writing. I'm just like do 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 this what do need to say this and I'm like saying the stuff and I'm like, oh, this is what Thoth would say. Man. And the next thing I know, like I got done with it and I was like, huh. And I went back and read it. I'm like, oh man, hold up. This is like, because you got to understand, it's all within us. So they can come from within us as well. Like they can show up and visit within you. And, but you have to have the right type of knowledge and body of understanding that you build that vibration for that channel within you to open up and for that knowledge to come forth from the Akashic records. And then it's not like you have a level of understanding of Thoth. It's like you have a connection to Thoth. It's himself. And that's like one form, because there's been many different Thoths that have popped up. And yes, one Thoth did live for 16,000 years here to help develop things. Because remember, it's a dream. Your body is a biomechanical computer. Your DNA degrades only because we don't enforce our will upon our body to keep ourselves from degrading. Who said we can't regrow limbs? It's all programming. We just don't tap into that aspect of the program because we don't dare to try to tap into it. It's like working a muscle. Like you didn't just start walking out of nowhere. You had to start focusing on standing up and doing that actual walk, you know? So we have to actually focus and not be like, I can't do this. No, you can do it. Like it's a dream. Get it in tell yourself, this is a dream. I can do this. Do the positive affirmations to reprogram your subconscious mind to start to actually go forward instead of holding yourself back, saying I can't because of, forget what everyone else says. They're crazy anyway on the outside. Like, have you seen, they're wearing masks now, masks that don't even work for a thing. And now they're telling you put on 2 masks, but the mask didn't work in the first place. So yeah, you aren't the body and you aren't your mind, because you know that you can sit there and you'll have a thought come from somewhere and you're like, man, blah blah, and like, wait a second, why did I think that? You have to get to where you're separating yourself out from your thoughts. Take no thoughts so you can see your thoughts passing by you, and then you can actually sit there and be like, that's my thought. This is me thinking. That's not me thinking. And you kind of stand like back from the information stream that's constantly coming inside of yourself. And that allows you to actually process clearer. You're stepping into what it is to be a Thoth inside of a way, because you're actually becoming your own thought form within yourself. And that's where egregor comes into it, because egregor at a certain point, your thoughts become so forceful, your will does, that you start to actually generate your own weight inside your body, the weight of your actual thought. It's a weird thing. And that weight will start to like vibrate within your whole body. You can feel the whole thing. That's why I tell people I'm immune to disease or virus. Well, yeah, the placebo effect, but it's not even like it's a placebo effect. You're literally just cutting off that signal. I don't know if you've heard of the biology of belief. Yeah, Rasputin did have power. And it's interesting. Rasputin, separate the word Ras, R-A apostrophe S, Putin, like a dude that's in power in Russia right now, that's talking about the world's, America's has demons and all these dark things going on. Interesting. Really interesting. But I don't know if you've heard of the biology of belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, but that's like a 2-hour seminar. But he talks about how like the brain of a cell isn't the DNA. The brain of the cell is the outside of the cell and how it perceives information. coming to it, the different sensors it gets. And based upon that, the cell responds on the inside. It may change some genetics that are going on to show genetic expression. It'll turn on a gene, or it turns off a gene based upon what it's perceiving on the outside of the cell. So if you're sitting up here on the outside of you and you're your own individual cell, the world you're perceiving against you, you're going to start changing your own genetics just by the way you're keeping your own energy state. You'll start to shift it around. So if you realize that, hey, I'm just the energy being, and you keep yourself as like, I'm the energy and I can control the different systems inside the body, you don't fall into being like the physical body. You remain inside like your more energetic state, and then you kind of move yourself through your different etheric bodies and to move up inside the levels, if that makes sense, to raise your energy from your chakras. Because the very basic one, the root chakra is survival. You're going to move up through different bodies and get to a certain point where you're giving off the energy of that body, and that body is affecting you more because you're actually resonating with it, with your own flesh, changing things to be like that. So it's definitely, the placebo effect will definitely work upon that. That's a part of it. But yeah, you want to be able to stand back and separate yourself from your thoughts in order to see thought. And as you build more information and you're sitting there thinking about it, truly pondering it, because there's like little things, little lines that will hit you when you read something. And if you feel like you should stop reading and like ponder it, stop reading and ponder it. I felt like let me see. Dang on phones. Now you're gonna show me more. There we go. I had a small taste when I lost weight through mental belief only. I felt like God, lost 40 pounds in 2 months. Yep. You force yourself to do it. That's actually very, very possible. And you were tapping into the God spark within you in order to start doing that. But the thing is, you have to have realization of it first. Once you have like you have that realization, that's kind of what you're getting into. Then you have to go back inside to do the whole Yod Hey Val Hey thing, which is why I keep on bringing the lost teachings of Atlantis up, Children of Law 1. Because as you read that book and have that understanding build within you as well, and then you start going back within yourself, doing your meditations, building your temple out, you're basically playing Zelda inside yourself. You know, you have 6 different 6 sage coins, 6 chakras below to get to the Temple of Light. It's the Ocarina of Time. Saturn's over time. You have to be childlike to see my symbols and signs, something Thoth would say. Like Merlin, the Grand Wizard, be childlike. So it's right there in front of us our whole lives, like literally. Power Rangers, 5 Rangers, and then a 6th one come. So he's usually bad. Something happens to him. He, like the Green Ranger, green's the color of love. Green Ranger would be the 6th Ranger. He shows up. He's bad. He eventually gets cleaned. Like the bad heart that he has inside him is cleaned, and he becomes the 7th new Ranger, the White Ranger. See how that works? And he still has the Dragon Zord as the White Ranger, but he also gets his White Tiger Zord too. And all the Zords can combine together to make like a super mega Zord. You chant Yod Hey Val Hey. Yeah. I don't know what the middle pillar ritual is. All I know is Yod Hey Val Hey is one of the names that is said. So whenever I went back in, I was chanting Yod Hey Val Hey Yod. I would also say Na Ma, because Saturn's symbol is the H, okay? It's the sickle, but it's the H. And you take that H, it means to aspirate, to breathe. Well, I took it and just start sending it away inside different things. Like H wasn't there. Like what was it before H was created? And so you have the saying as in India, Om Namah Shivaya. Well, I took Na, N-A, and then Ma, and instead of putting the H on it, I just put the A with a line over it. which does the same thing. C, instead of she, I've made C, which is S with the I with the line elongated over it. Va, ya, nama, si, va, ya, om. Which, ironically enough, they say Om Namah Shivaya, but Na is earth, Ma, water, Shi, fire, Ba, air, Ya, ether, Om, vibration. And then I put Yod on the top. And I was like, it's actually like, you can also say Sham. That's another thing that's up there. But like Shiva says Shambho. That's one of his things. It's Shiva Shambho. They'll say that. We'll take Sham and then put Shambho and then put the Om there. So Shambho. And when I say Shambho, I'm like Shambho. Like that. Yeah, that was loud. But it's that type of like glass shattering inside that S and H sound. Shambho. And the Om Shambho. So it's an interesting thing. And like you, as you say the words, as you're chanting it, you're supposed to be feeling the vibration that is generating within you. That's another thing too. And you have 3 paths, right, left, middle. Middle is balancing the light and the dark. Oh, well, yeah. That's what I do. I went by gray, and then I became nothing. Technically, I went Doth. I've always had the name like Doth. I didn't know that, but yeah, father thing. 13th one that's missing. 13th Sephiroth that's hidden behind it all. Because it's under. But when you're sitting here, like think about the Sephiroth being here and you're looking underneath in the back. So it's like dropping back inside of filters of perception of view. You have to learn how to operate your mind as in like you're sitting there and then you see your internal character that you have like running as like an Assassin's Creed and the Animus, and like you kind of like swoop your mind up in there and have that person like here, like the person you actually are inside yourself is filtered out, but looking in the back of your mind as you're driving your own body. So you're separating yourself out into layers, and you're trying to like get that division in there so you can see the different like levels that you're on and you're operating on. Most people are operating from like monkey see, monkey do. You have to like pull back in a way. Like I said, you emerged from that dream state of everything going everywhere and you didn't know anything. And now you come to know things, but you think you know what you know. You haven't put your head back out the water. And by taking your head out of that water and going back into yourself, it's like Ibis, the Ibis head of Thoth. He peeks forward and looks in here. What people will think is you're looking into the darkness and going that way, but actually you've come from that way. Every day when you wake up, you're emerging from that darkness and you kind of like stick your head halfway out of the water and you're here and you're in the air. You have to learn how to go back into yourself and be in the dream state at the same time while you're walking around conscious. And that's where your entrainment comes in. You have to train yourself to get entrained to be like here, but also be there, but also be there, because you have a quantum computer for a brain. So you're using all your different levels of you, not just seeing the light or the dark, not just being here or there. You're separating out yourself so you can actually look better. The whole creation fractals. And so inside of this, you're starting to build your own fractal perception of the creation. If you want to get back into the thing that's fractaling, you have to fractal yourself with it. But people are afraid of the fractaling. They're like, that's going to make you crazy. It's going to make you schizophrenic. No. This is why you develop meditations, and you're supposed to know what you're looking to do. You're trying to separate yourself out and get a better understanding of you to have a fuller picture. You have your different chakras. Every chakra has an avatar there. Who would you be if you had fire power? Who would you be if you were an earthbender? Who would you be if you were a waterbender? How would you use the powers? Because everyone can use it differently. Why would you be given the power to use the things if you're not showing how you would use it? You have no idea how you would use it yourself. So why is the creator going to give you the ability to use the thing? You haven't shown the reason why you know how to do it. And how would you mix different things together? Because, We're all the same chemical soup. We're just in different proportions. And it makes us all so much different. So how would you mix your different chakra energies together to make different powers? You want the powers, you want the things, you want the understanding. We'll learn how to, who those, like, I made the avatars, right? And I'd like step into, like, if I had water powers, I'd be this dude. And I'd be like doing it like this. And by doing that and shifting myself into that perspective, it's like you map out different areas of your brain and you're pre-programming characters. So all your characters work together inside of yourself that are all you to work to turn on, like, oh, this character is mapped to this part of my brain. This character is mapped to this part of my brain. This character is mapped to this part of my brain with different personality sets and stuff like that. These beings are all there. We're all working together as one. And when you think like I am Legion, I am one within yourself, and all the different ways you could use your powers as a being, you're bringing your own self together inside of a fractal way. You're constructing yourself. You're actually building your inner temple work, the Tower of God you're building, so that you can understand inside of yourself these different principles. Who would you be if you were Mercy? What's the most merciful path you can take on a thing? You have to like separate out all these different principles within the tree of life and death. You have to separate them out. What would you be if you were following that principle? Who would you be if you're doing this principle? What's this? What's that? You ponder it and build these understandings inside yourself to go in with the gestalt so you can learn how to make yourself noble. Alice, and so Alice also links in with Anana, how we were Nana and we fell from heaven, taking off our 7 heavenly garments, taking off our chakras, turning down and coming out here. We left our first love of being inside the waters and like swimming around because we were taught wrong and we weren't taught how to program our minds to use our body properly. So that's another really interesting fact of like what I actually went through. I realized it later on. Whenever you do that, and you start to like use all of yourself together, it caused me to start unlocking more of my brain because I was using all my avatars, all the different like set things. But me myself, since I fought all of them and played Zelda inside myself, doing my meditations, overcoming my issues. If I had something I felt was a demon, I would make it into a demon in my meditation and I would fight it. Angels, I don't like them. They're smug. I fought them too. I fought everybody inside myself. That's my Graha Raja yoga, Dragon King yoga. Because why not? 7 Dragon Balls, and you get like a wish, the pineal gland, dragon egg. It's another thing that goes into it. And fighting your way up to become the king inside your own castle. And then once you're the king and you have all your other avatars, they were bad people, now they're your friends or whatever. You all work together within the one consolidated person. The temple from within actually works the temple without. And all these different pieces and layers go together to make the fractal perception. Yeah, I see you, Broly. You ain't the only one who's Broly. I got some Broly in me too. Can't you tell? I'm a beast. Anyways, but yeah, it's pretty interesting, right? How like the different fractals, the whole creation around this fractals, but for some reason that everyone's trying to hold on to this identity of who they think they are. But you've never even examined inside yourself to see if you feel the way you really feel. And then does it stand up the clock? Like, does it stand up? Would you rather have the ability to shapeshift and go from being a man to a woman to being an old dude to being a young one to being like a bird person to being like a crocodile person? If it's a dream, why can't you shift around to all these different people like skin walking, which skin walking, but then you have like Odin used to shapeshift, Zeus would shapeshift, Poseidon shapeshift, Hades could shapeshift. All these old gods could shapeshift. So why are you concerned with who you think you are, what label you have? Yeah, whenever you can just shift between the things. You have to be like water. Bruce Lee. No one listened to Bruce Lee? Huh? He said be like water. So you be like water. And when you learn how these different people inside yourself, like when you actually format yourself, because nobody's formatting themselves, a biomachine body that you're driving around that's a quantum computer and no one's formatting anything. It's just straight up like base nature. Like this is the base. This is base model that people are living. But you have like all this extra stuff that's built into the system, not tapping into. Because you're not, cause you have to sit down and go into the darkness. And like, whenever you're a kid and you're sitting there, right? And like you're singing your favorite artist's song, and it's like you're on stage, you're pretending like you're performing or something, and you're watching yourself on stage. That's your third eye. That's your actual third eye. To see without seeing. You get it? It's the higher, because you can sit here and think about it, and it's like a higher thought thingy. When I sit here and think about, like, I can be walking through the woods right now inside my mind, and I'm walking through the woods, and I can see trees like there and there and there, but it's like I'm seeing with a different type of eye than I'm seeing with these eyes. It's a different type of sight, but I'm still doing things there. This is actually walking inside. You're actually doing things. You think you're not doing things, but you're actually doing a lot of stuff inside that area. And inside that area where you're seeing without sight, which is where like some people go when they're writing, and they'll be sitting there in their own temple. They'll be writing out their temple. Take up writing, just like write down like you walking through the woods and see yourself walking in the woods, and like jot down different things you notice as you're walking. You know, like, oh, I see a rock. Just seen a squirrel. Armadillo. And just like sit there and do that as a meditation to build your visualization skills. I'm walking at the beach. The waves are very peaceful. Hear the waves inside your head. You can sit here and think about the going back out. You can hear all that. So you can literally have a full expansive uh, meditation session where you're just sitting there and you may be inside the darkness, but you are the awareness, and you're letting these things happen as you're walking through this area that you think is dark, but it's not dark. And that's where you meet your other people and you have your whole thing. That's where you truly do your pondering, because you can sit here now and you can start visualizing different things while your eyes are wide open, and it allows you to kind of like separate out and also pick up more information inside the actual it's like a HUD menu for a game where you can zoom in and be like, what's that? And it's like mind pulls up like the sage mode. It's like, these are the chakra points. This is the information I have stored on this information that I know. Let's go ahead and go through the schemas and start pulling forth the different knowledge things you have. And you start like actually filling out the different interpretations of what's there and remembering the stuff and be like, oh, now I'm learning how to flip through the different areas of my mind and pull up the catalogs. I'm switching my mindset. So I'm switching like the face I'm wearing for that. And then I go ahead and put this hat on. Now I have this other hat, and I'm pulling up the schemas that are associated with that. And then you can just mix hats and put it all together and stack them on top of each other and see like what kooky, conky, mixy stuff comes up. And that's called correlative intelligence. That's what Elon Musk uses. So, but yeah, that's going way from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, but at the same time, it's kind of what he talks about inside of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And this is kind of the way that I break down, like being inside the shadows, the people in the shadows. It's the person behind you. It's your actual shadow. You can sit here and think about yourself. Who is it that's watching from your eyes right now? Like if the eyes were just a screen, that you're there, and there's someone back here watching from the screen that's within you. Who's the person that looks at your eyes is the same person that's looking at my eyes. We all have the same essential thing, and that's what's called the Christ or the Sun. So everything's powered by the Christ. That's what that actually means, or a use. It's the person that's looking from the eyes, undifferentiated, just like the one that's powering the thing. It's the base. It's the thing. We're technically born from that, and we're like programming ourselves inside of a way. Like we're trying to gain things to say who we are, vice us actually being and showing who we are. Yeah, it's always the shadow that's there. You have to, once you learn to sit back and just be the person looking at your eyes, then your shadow self comes in, which is your negative aspect that's there as well. But you got to remember, the creator is also in the shadow. So once you learn to get inside your shadow and you fix the things that's going on with that by, like, you know, they say that the shadow is going to tell you the things you don't want to hear about yourself. Acceptance, forgiveness is important, because if you can't accept yourself and forgive yourself, then how will you be able to move forward? You're going to constantly keep on harming yourself, which yourself is the person that's like sitting there that you might not have been conscious before. It's like all of a sudden, you know, you have those moments where you just open your eyes and you're like, oh, how did I not see this before? Oh man, how did I not know? You weren't awake. You weren't jarred awake. So sometimes, like I said, with the movie characters, you just now woke up. You're like, oh snap, there was so much I didn't see before. It's the same thing with the shadow. Yeah, no, Amos 5:20. It literally says the day of the Lord is in darkness. How great is that darkness? And then inside of the Upanishad within the forest, the Brahmananda Upanishad or something like that, it says that like the shining self is the awareness, is the light of man within the darkness. It's awareness. Let's see. I'll read that to you real quick because it's one of my favorite things. It's the states of consciousness. And it's like, Yanaka, when the sun sets, Yagnavalkya, and the moon sets, what is the light of man? Fire is our light, for by that we sit, we go out, we work, and we come back. Janaka, when the sun sets, Yagnavalkya, and the moon sets, and the fire goes out, what is the light of man? Then speech, you know, our sound, what we hear, is our light. For by that we sit, we work, we go out, and come back. Even though we cannot see our own hand in the dark, we can hear what is said and move towards the person speaking. Janaka, when the sun sets, Yagnavalkya, and the moon sets, and the fire goes out, and no one speaks, what is the light of man? Yagnavalkya. The self indeed is the light of man, your majesty, for by that we sit and we go out and we come back. Now, Broly, check this out. This is gonna fuck you up, okay? Because like this is what it is. The Hindu teachings, you have to add everything back together, and this will point out to why. Yanaka, who is that self? Yagnavalkya. That self, the self, pure awareness, shines as the light within the heart, surrounded by the senses, only seeming to think, seeming to move. The self neither sleeps nor wakes nor dreams. When the self takes on a body, he seems to assume the body's frailties and limitations. And when he sheds the body at the time of death, the self leaves all these behind. The human being has two states of consciousness, one in this world and the other in the next. You have one eye that's here, and I'm telling you to have the other eye that's also like inside the dream state, and it's all originally a dream. But there's a third state between them, not unlike the world of dreams, in which we are aware of both worlds with their sorrows and joys. When a person dies, it is only the physical body that dies. The person lives on in a non-physical body, which carries impressions of his past life. And it is these impressions that determine his next life. In this intermediate state, he makes and dissolves impressions by the light of the self. In that third state of consciousness, there are no chariots. Yeah, okay. Yeah. In that third state of consciousness, there are no chariots, no horses drawing them on roads on which to travel, but he makes up his own chariots and horses and roads. Like, you know, in dreams, you just wake up and you're in a house and you're doing all these things, and it's already there. Well, or you're sitting here walking around. Well, in the third state of consciousness, when you're in the area above yourself, there are no chariots or horses drawing them or roads which to travel, but he makes up his own chariots and horses and roads. In that state, there are no joys or pleasures, but he makes up his own joys and pleasures. In that state, there are no lotus ponds, no lakes, no rivers, but he makes up his own lotus ponds, lakes, and rivers. It is he who makes up all these from impressions of his past or waking life, past life, or you being awake. So if you've seen lotus ponds inside of another place and you're sitting there thinking about it, like inside your dream world, or you're dreaming of it, that's like a past life or a waking life. But you can also sit here and think about being sitting down in front of a stone, like on a stone slab, in front of like a lotus pond with giant's petals there. And you can see like your actual body sitting in front of it. And then you can kind of like swoop your vision down to where you put yourself in that darkness there with you and like around with the lotus pond. And that's what it is said in these states of consciousness, that in the dreaming state, when one is sleeping, the shining self who never dreams, who is ever awake, watches by his own light the dreams woven out of past deeds and present desires. In the dreaming state, when one is sleeping, the shining self keeps the body alive with the vital force of prana and wanders wherever he will. In the dreaming state, when one is sleeping, the shining self assumes many forms, eats with friends, indulges in sex, and sees fearsome spectacles. But he is not affected by anything because he is detached and free. And after wandering here and there in the state of dreaming, enjoying pleasures and seeing good and evil, he returns to the state from which he began. As a great fish swims between the banks of a river as it likes to, so does the shining self move between the states of dreaming and waking. That awareness of yourself moves from when you're in the dream to like where you come awake and you're opening your eyes up. You left the dream world, that stuff all ended, and all of a sudden you have the black screen in front of you, and you open your eyes, and like you're taking in the information here. And the first thing you have to do is like pull your mind together. You know, you like put like load your identifiers, like where am I, who am I, what the hell, I need coffee. Like people do various things to pull themselves together into a focal point, into a oneness, and bring yourself here. Say, all right, I'm here, I have to go do this thing because I'm this person. But who said you're that person? You had a whole loading and booting sequence that you were coming to, but you have to actually sit back and boom. Sounds similar to the Hadith al-Kamil. I have to check that out. Let's see. Let me screenshot that so I can boom remember it. Got it. But yeah, see the Upanishads, man. I'm telling you, pick up a copy of this as well if you want more stuff like this. This whole book, like it. that's the best way I can explain it. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get off here so I can go get some rest and everything. The late night stream. Wanted to get on and talk to Ben with a little bit more. But James, Broly, thank you, thank you. You made it interesting. Just talking about various things and having my mind go around. If I'm allowed to like sit here and think about stuff, and when I think about it, I'll jump around and I'll see I'm actively using my Lilith to go forth and like pull back information, like, oh, this is like this, and this is what I'm doing. Because now that I've done the whole thing what's up? I've done the whole thing. I did the thing last year to cause the thing to go. So now I'm actually able to process what I was doing and give you all the information that might be able to help you, like how you're resonating with it. Come on. Okay. Let me screenshot. All right. I'll make sure that I'm gonna go look that up. It's okay. It would have pulled up eventually. It's gonna autocorrect itself, or it's gonna pull up the thing that's nearest to it. I'm gonna do a little digging, some research, see what I can find. I like reading things from everywhere because everywhere you can find knowledge. I've come to realize, literally, if you take all of our books and put them together, it makes sense. The dude's in the darkness. He's like, I'm dreaming this. I took a copy of myself, drained it of light. That's you. You're going out now. You are my child. You are gaining wisdom inside my dream, and to reveal myself to you and where I am, where I've been hiding from you because I'm inside of you. And you'll go back to me once you've built your character by your chakras and everything like that, by your visualization, because this is all my dream. So build the way that I build first. And then when you get approved, you get that stamp, you get the gland to go pop open and everything. Now you can go play the actual game. Congratulations, kid. You made it. It's so retarded. Everyone's like, they're not making a character. And they're like mad at the dude that made the stuff. And they're like talking shit about Player Zero. Have they not seen how bad the shadow is? Like, If your shadow's that bad, they're like, well, why does God destroy the world? Do you not? The person that you become when you're playing video games and you're talking shit, he's the same dude, but he's the dude he's playing Minecraft. This is all his Minecraft, and then people go and piss him off by doing crazy stuff to kids and all stuff like that, and no one gets up and saves him. What do you think is going to happen? Like, come on, be logical. No one's logical about this, but it's all right there. Like, all these books, once you start reading it and you actually start adding them together and just thinking logically, what would you do if you were alone inside of a void? Seriously, what do you do? You're just there in the darkness. You don't know why you are. You just came into being. You don't need anyone else to know who you are. You made all the stuff. You painstakingly like went through the whole thing to dream it and make stuff and perfect the bodies to where they feel and all this other stuff and put inputs. And now you're like, I want to have kids to play in this and see what they can create. Yeah, sure, you can friend request me. Alex Denatra. Ironically, I have a photo of me in front of an exit door and I'm all shadowed out. The Tyler. Guarding the door to the secret mysteries. But I mean, like, if you get the stuff that I'm talking about, it's gonna like it's gonna start clicking inside of you. I'm pretty sure you'll see it. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's right there. It's right in front of our faces, but you just don't notice it. It's like a film that's covered your eyes. I had the same film, and then like once it went back, I was like, oh man, surprise! It's so silly. Like seriously, if you're not ready to embrace the divine comedy and see like how like it's like why do they do that? uh, it's like it's constantly comedy or like little things that happen to you when you're a kid. You're gonna start like noticing how like things are coming up, and it's like this is who you are. It's like you were telling yourself who you were a long time ago when you were a kid. Usually, we're making a character when we're like a kid, and somehow we just forget to finish making our character. We're deciding do we want to be a fire truck or not. And like since little kids say they want to be fire trucks, he made Optimus Prime. Opti means to see the light. Moose is a French verb of mover, to move. And prime is being of great importance. See the first light of the move of the great being of the great importance. Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots. Yeah, literally, it's in our childhood. All the hints are there. You just gotta play like Carmen Sandiego with Merlin, and think that Merlin can be anywhere, shape shifting, doing mad wizard stuff. You know, he's like a kooky old man just doing things. That's who you're playing like hide and seek against. You have to find him. And he's leaving his stuff everywhere. It's just, are you going to notice him? Some cool stuff, man. But you have a wonderful night. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your input. And I'll be sure to add you. Yeah, art does imitate reality. Because if you playing yourself as a movie character and you're actually living life, you're living art. And boom, you become living art. You become a character. Have a good night.